Tom Cruise, born Thomas Cruise Maypother IV on July 3, 1962, in Syracuse, New York, entered a world that was far from perfect, yet rich with challenges that would unknowingly mold the resilience, courage, and relentless drive that would define him in the decades to come. From the very beginning, his life was shaped by instability. His father, an electrical engineer with a distant and sometimes harsh presence, and his mother, a hardworking special education teacher, struggled to maintain balance in a household that moved frequently, leaving Tom to adapt to new schools, neighborhoods, and social circles again and again. This constant shifting could have created insecurity, but instead, it forged in Tom a remarkable adaptability and an acute awareness of human behavior. Even as a small child, he was observant, studying people, their gestures, emotions, and reactions, often more interested in understanding the world around him than simply playing along with it. He had a boundless energy that manifested in constant movement, exploration, and creativity, as if his body and mind were impatient to grow, to discover, and to make sense of the world. Games were not just games for Tom. They were mini-theaters, experiments in imagination where he could test ideas, perform roles, and step into different characters, rehearsing a life larger than his immediate circumstances. It was here, in these small acts of childhood play, that the first seeds of his passion for performance and storytelling were planted, though he could not yet know that they would grow into a global career. Academically, life presented another set of challenges. Tom struggled with dyslexia, a condition that made reading, writing, and even basic schoolwork an uphill battle. While other children could read stories or solve problems with ease, Tom often found himself staring at pages, feeling frustration and self-doubt, sometimes embarrassed by his slower pace. But even these struggles were lessons in persistence. Each difficulty taught him to find alternative ways to learn, to experiment with problem solving, and to develop a resilience that would later become a hallmark of his career. Where many might have given up, Tom's mind refused to accept limits. He discovered early on that life would not hand him success, and that the only way to achieve anything meaningful was through effort, creativity, and determination. Even as a child, he cultivated an inner dialogue of encouragement, telling himself that failure was not permanent, that mistakes were simply steps on a path toward growth. This internal fortitude became a quiet superpower, allowing him to navigate both academic and personal challenges with a persistence that would later fuel his extraordinary career in Hollywood. Outside the classroom, Tom's personality was a mix of curiosity, imagination, and sensitivity. He loved stories, movies, and music, immersing himself in worlds that went far beyond the limits of his small, transient neighborhood. He would imitate characters, act out scenes from movies, or create playful skits for family and friends, often losing himself entirely in these performances. Even at a young age, he displayed a rare ability to inhabit emotions fully, to observe the subtleties of human expression, and to replicate them in ways that astonished adults and peers alike. This natural talent for observation and imitation, combined with his energy and fearlessness, laid the groundwork for the performer he would eventually become. In moments of solitude, Tom's imagination would wander even further. He envisioned himself in places far beyond Syracuse, performing on stages, in front of cameras, and in worlds that had yet to exist. These dreams, vivid and persistent, were not fantasies of escape. They were silent plans forming in his mind. Blueprints for a future where he could transform passion into a lifelong vocation. Family life, though challenging, also contributed to Tom's emerging character. Watching his mother juggle work and household responsibilities instilled in him a respect for hard work and dedication, while his relationship with his father, though strained, taught him resilience and the importance of independence. He learned to navigate tension and unpredictability, to read situations carefully, and to develop a sense of determination that could withstand setbacks, skills that would prove invaluable in the competitive world of Hollywood. Small acts of kindness, observation, and empathy from his early life allowed him to understand people on a deep level. A trait that made him a master at portraying complex characters later in films. By the time Tom reached his preteen years, he had already begun to develop the essential traits that would define his future: an extraordinary energy that propelled him to explore relentlessly, an unquenchable curiosity about the world, and a relentless inner drive to achieve more than his circumstances seemed to allow. He was a child who, despite dyslexia, instability, and early struggles, refused to see limits, who could dream expansively even when the world around him seemed constrained, and who cultivated a rich inner world filled with imagination, creativity, and silent determination. This foundation, shaped by adversity, observation, and an innate curiosity, prepared him for the next stages of his life, where discovery, talent, and risk-taking would combine to transform a shy, struggling child from Syracuse into one of the most iconic actors in cinematic history. As we leave this chapter, we witness a young Tom, standing at the precipice of possibility, with a mind full of dreams, a spirit resilient against setbacks, and a heart ready to chase the extraordinary, unaware that the journey ahead would demand not only his talent but every ounce of his courage, perseverance, and unyielding passion. As Tom Cruise moved into his school years, the world outside his home became both a challenge and a proving ground. While most children navigated classrooms with relative ease, Tom faced a daily battle with dyslexia, a condition that made reading, writing, and even basic comprehension difficult. Every lesson, every textbook, every assignment was a mountain to climb, and the frustration of falling behind sometimes felt overwhelming. Yet, instead of allowing this challenge to crush his spirit, Tom developed a quiet resilience and a determination that would become the hallmark of his life. He discovered early strategies to compensate, often memorizing lines, creating mental maps of information, or finding alternative ways to express understanding. His struggles in school, rather than defining him as incapable, began to cultivate a mind that could think creatively, approach problems differently, and develop empathy for others who faced obstacles. In the hallways and classrooms of Syracuse, Tom began to observe people intensely, their behaviors, their reactions, their mannerisms, and he slowly learned how to mirror emotions and gestures, an early foundation for the actor he would one day become. While academic tests often brought embarrassment or anxiety, Tom found solace in activities where he could express himself fully: sports, drama, and performance. Even minor school plays became stages where he could shine. Experimenting with character, emotion, and timing, discovering that storytelling was not just entertainment, it was a way to connect, to be understood, and to excel where traditional academics failed him. Despite these small victories, school life was far from easy. The repeated moves his family made meant that Tom often had to start over socially, making new friends, adjusting to unfamiliar teachers, and navigating peer dynamics without the safety of long-term familiarity. Each transition tested his resilience, but also sharpened his adaptability, teaching him to read social cues, handle rejection, and maintain focus on personal goals despite external chaos. At times, he felt isolated, watching other children succeed effortlessly where he struggled, yet these moments of frustration ignited a quiet inner fire. He began to understand that success would not be handed to him and that he would have to fight for every achievement. This mentality, born from academic struggle, family upheaval, and social adaptation, laid the groundwork for the fearless persistence that would define his future career. It taught him that challenges, no matter how daunting, could be met with creativity, courage, and relentless effort. Outside the rigidity of schoolwork, Tom's creativity and curiosity blossomed. He found inspiration in books he could read at his own pace, in movies that transported him to worlds beyond Syracuse, and in music that stirred his imagination. He became a keen observer of performance, watching how actors conveyed emotion, how directors built scenes, and how storytelling could move an audience. He would mimic characters, practice voices, and experiment with gestures, learning through imitation what he could not yet fully read or write. His natural energy, combined with a desire to succeed and a mind that refused to accept limitations, transformed every small play, rehearsal, or self-made performance into a learning opportunity. Slowly, acting became not just a passion, but a sanctuary, a place where his dyslexia mattered less, and his creativity and courage mattered more. It was here, in these moments of discovery and experimentation, that Tom began to develop a sense of purpose, an understanding that his life could be bigger than the obstacles in front of him, and that he could channel his struggles into mastery, expression, and ultimately, achievement. During these formative years, family influence remained crucial. His mother's perseverance in the face of hardship, and her insistence that Tom find a direction in life despite academic struggles, gave him both structure and belief in his own potential. Meanwhile, his father's distance, though difficult, inadvertently fostered independence and self-reliance. Tom learned to navigate adversity with both humility and determination, internalizing lessons about responsibility, focus, and the value of hard work. By the end of his school years, these experiences had shaped a boy who was already markedly different from his peers, intensely observant, remarkably determined, emotionally intelligent, and driven to overcome every challenge placed before him. The combination of dyslexia, constant adaptation to new environments, and the discovery of performance arts created a unique alchemy in Tom's mind and character. It was a preparation not only for his first professional steps into acting but for the emotional endurance, focus, and courage that would later define every stunt, every role, and every career decision. As we close this chapter, we see a young Tom Cruise, struggling, frustrated, yet quietly unstoppable, standing on the threshold of discovery, a boy whose challenges were already shaping him into a performer capable of transforming adversity into art, and whose path toward Hollywood greatness was beginning to take its first definitive steps. As Tom Cruise moved into his teenage years, the boy from Syracuse began to fully confront the challenges and opportunities of adolescence, a period where identity, ambition, and self-expression collide in ways that shape the rest of one's life. The struggles he had faced in school, his dyslexia, constant relocation, and academic hurdles, had instilled in him a quiet determination and an ability to observe, adapt, and persevere, but now he was beginning to discover an extraordinary outlet for these abilities: acting. It started subtly, in school plays and community performances, where he experimented with embodying different characters, exploring the emotional spectrum of human behavior, and learning the subtle art of storytelling. Unlike academics, where failure brought frustration and embarrassment, acting provided him with immediate feedback, a sense of accomplishment, and, perhaps most importantly, a taste of control over his own expression. For the first time, Tom felt a deep, intrinsic connection to something that allowed him to harness his restless energy and intense curiosity. On stage or in front of a small audience, he found a space where his dyslexia mattered less than his creativity, where his imagination and emotional intelligence could flourish unhindered, and where the confidence he had been slowly cultivating could grow into something tangible and inspiring. During this time, Tom also began to notice the power of observation. He watched peers, teachers, and strangers alike, studying how people moved, spoke, and reacted to different situations, storing this knowledge subconsciously to later reproduce in performances. This meticulous attention to detail became a key element of his budding acting skill. Every gesture, every tone, every facial expression was a puzzle he sought to understand, and every interaction became an opportunity to practice empathy, nuance, and authenticity. Even in moments of teenage awkwardness or self-doubt, Tom's curiosity about human behavior gave him a sense of purpose and direction. He discovered that acting was not merely pretending, it was connecting, understanding, and communicating the unspoken, an ability he instinctively excelled at, thanks to years of navigating life with dyslexia and constant social adaptation. His family, particularly his mother, recognized his potential and encouraged him to explore these passions, providing both emotional support and practical guidance in an environment that could sometimes feel unpredictable and challenging. Outside of formal school activities, Tom immersed himself in movies, theater, and literature, consuming stories with an intensity that mirrored his drive to succeed. He began to envision himself not just participating in these stories, but creating, influencing, and living them. His imagination became a sanctuary, a place where he could rehearse scenarios, visualize roles, and build an internal understanding of character development long before he formally pursued acting as a career. Every movie he watched, every character he admired, became a blueprint for understanding emotion, risk, and human connection. He practiced endlessly, often in solitude, speaking lines aloud, perfecting gestures, and experimenting with voices and expressions, unaware that these exercises were quietly constructing the foundation of his future success. The teenage years were also a time when Tom's natural energy and drive found physical outlets. Sports, dance, and movement allowed him to train his body in ways that would later support the demanding stunts and physicality of his cinematic roles. His combination of physical awareness, emotional intelligence, and unrelenting focus set him apart from his peers, signaling the emergence of a young man who was destined for extraordinary challenges and achievements. By the time he was in the later stages of his teenage years, Tom had begun to solidify a sense of purpose and ambition that went beyond the typical aspirations of high school students. He knew he wanted to perform, to tell stories, and to connect with audiences in ways that went far beyond school plays or local performances. The struggles of his early life, dyslexia, frequent moves, social challenges, had shaped a resilience, focus, and fearlessness that would become essential tools in his journey toward Hollywood. He understood that talent alone was not enough, determination, discipline, and courage were equally critical. This realization, coupled with the early joy and fulfillment he found in acting, set the stage for his next leap, leaving Syracuse, taking risks, and pursuing a professional career in acting that would push him beyond comfort zones, test his limits, and ultimately transform him into one of the world's most iconic actors. In these formative teenage years, we see the transformation of a young boy into a determined, passionate, and fiercely ambitious young man, fully aware that the path ahead would be challenging, but ready to pursue his dreams with everything he had, a journey that would carry him from high school stages to the dazzling heights of Hollywood stardom. During his teenage years, Tom Cruise faced a period of deep introspection, a moment where ambition, curiosity, and moral contemplation intersected in profound ways. Growing up in a Catholic household, he was naturally influenced by the teachings, discipline, and values instilled by his faith. At one point, Tom seriously considered becoming a priest, drawn by the structure, purpose, and spiritual significance of that path. The idea of dedicating his life to helping others, offering guidance, and serving a higher calling held an undeniable allure. It was a period where he questioned his purpose in life, explored the meaning of his existence, and considered how he could make a lasting impact on the world. This phase, though brief, was crucial. It allowed him to examine his values, develop a sense of ethical responsibility, and cultivate an understanding that life required dedication, discipline, and commitment, qualities that would later define his acting career. He reflected on what it meant to inspire, to connect, and to influence people, lessons that would later become invaluable as he took on roles that touched audiences worldwide. Even in considering the priesthood, Tom's mind and spirit were searching for a way to channel his energy and talents towards something larger than himself, a space where he could merge passion, purpose, and personal fulfillment. Yet, as much as the idea of becoming a priest fascinated him, Tom realized that his true calling lay elsewhere. The spark he felt when performing, the exhilaration of embodying characters, and the joy of telling stories were unmatched by any sense of spiritual duty. Acting allowed him to explore the full spectrum of human emotion, creativity, and experience in a way that was both immediate and deeply personal. He discovered that he could inspire, move, and connect with people not from a pulpit, but from the stage and screen, bringing stories to life with energy, empathy, and authenticity. This realization marked a turning point. Tom understood that his purpose was not to guide through sermons, but to guide through performance, to translate his observations of human nature, his emotional intelligence, and his boundless energy into characters that audiences could relate to, admire, and feel deeply about. The discipline, ethical grounding, and reflection cultivated through his brief consideration of the priesthood would, in a sense, translate into his professional ethos as an actor, an unshakable dedication to craft, an understanding of responsibility to the audience, and a commitment to authenticity in every performance. At the same time, Tom's teenage mind was wrestling with the practical realities of life and the challenges of stepping into a professional career. He was no longer a child shielded by family or school routines. He was aware of the demands, competition, and risks involved in pursuing acting as a vocation. He began to visualize a future where dedication, courage, and relentless effort would be required to succeed, where failure would be inevitable but could be transformed into growth, and where talent alone would not suffice without discipline, preparation, and a willingness to take risks. The juxtaposition of spiritual exploration and creative ambition created a mental framework that would define Tom's approach to life, a blend of ethical grounding, emotional depth, intellectual curiosity, and fearlessness in the pursuit of excellence. This was also a time of experimentation and self-discovery. Tom immersed himself in films, theater, and performance arts, analyzing every nuance of storytelling, every gesture, and every technique. He began to envision not only the roles he could play but the impact he could make on audiences, understanding that acting was not merely a profession but a vehicle to communicate, inspire, and leave a lasting impression on the world. He internalized the lessons of morality, empathy, and purpose from his religious reflections and combined them with the thrill, passion, and creativity of acting, forming a vision of a future that was ambitious, meaningful, and intensely personal. By the end of this period, Tom had made a conscious choice. He would pursue acting with the same devotion, focus, and discipline that he might have dedicated to a spiritual calling, but in a way that allowed him to explore the human condition, challenge himself, and impact the world through art. This realization marked the beginning of his deliberate, courageous journey toward Hollywood. He was no longer just a curious, energetic, and talented teenager, he was a young man with clarity of purpose, an understanding of the effort required for greatness, and an unwavering commitment to follow his true calling, even in the face of uncertainty, competition, and personal challenge. It was a decisive moment where imagination met ambition, where reflection met action, and where the boy from Syracuse began stepping onto a path that would eventually lead him to become one of the most iconic and influential actors in cinematic history. As Tom Cruise entered his late teenage years, the dreams and ambitions he had nurtured quietly in Syracuse began demanding action, urging him to step beyond the familiar comforts of home and family into the vast, unpredictable world of New York City. Leaving behind the small-town streets, school memories, and the protective cocoon of his family, Tom embraced a decision that would define the trajectory of his life. He would pursue acting professionally, committing fully to a path that was as uncertain as it was exhilarating. The transition was far from easy. New York, with its towering skyscrapers, bustling streets, and ceaseless energy, was both intimidating and awe-inspiring, a city where countless hopeful actors roamed the same sidewalks, dreaming of stardom while facing rejection after rejection. Tom quickly discovered that talent alone could not open doors. Perseverance, strategy, and an unyielding work ethic were just as critical. He immersed himself in acting classes, tirelessly rehearsing scenes, mastering techniques, and learning to translate raw emotion into authentic performance, all while navigating the financial and emotional challenges of living independently in a demanding urban environment. Survival jobs became a necessary part of daily life, waiting tables, odd jobs, and any means to support himself while maintaining focus on auditions and acting workshops. Each day tested his patience, resilience, and self-belief. Yet Tom's inner determination, honed over years of academic struggles and personal challenges, propelled him forward, transforming obstacles into lessons and rejection into fuel for improvement. The city itself became a classroom for observation and growth. Every passerby, street corner, and fleeting interaction was material for his acting mind, sharpening his ability to read emotion, anticipate reactions, and embody a range of human experiences. Tom studied fellow actors, directors, and mentors, absorbing every nuance of performance and production. He learned that the world of professional acting was as much about persistence, adaptability, and presence as it was about natural talent, and he dedicated himself to mastering both craft and mindset. Late nights were often spent memorizing lines, perfecting gestures, and rehearsing scenes alone in tiny apartments, the glow of streetlights filtering through windows, accompanied by the distant hum of the city that never slept. Every setback, a failed audition, a critical remark, a missed opportunity, was met with a renewed focus, a deeper commitment, and an understanding that greatness would require sacrifice, patience, and relentless self-belief. During this formative period, Tom also began to understand the importance of self-presentation and discipline. In a city teeming with competition, first impressions, confidence, and professionalism could make the difference between a fleeting opportunity and a life-changing role. He honed his appearance, his demeanor, and his ability to communicate passion and authenticity during auditions, understanding that acting was not just performance but a demonstration of character, perseverance, and readiness. Each small success, a callback, a compliment from an instructor, a fleeting role, was celebrated quietly, reinforcing his belief in his path and shaping a mindset that would carry him through years of later triumphs and challenges. Emotionally, New York was a crucible. Away from family and familiarity, Tom faced moments of doubt, loneliness, and fear, yet these were counterbalanced by the thrill of possibility, the excitement of discovery, and the intoxicating sense that every effort brought him closer to his dreams. The city's relentless pace, its high stakes, and its endless opportunities taught him endurance, courage, and the ability to maintain focus amidst chaos, preparing him for the intense demands of Hollywood. By the end of this phase, Tom had transformed from a talented and ambitious teenager into a young man equipped with practical experience, emotional resilience, and a sharpened understanding of his craft and the industry he sought to conquer. He was ready not just to audition for roles but to face the complex, often unforgiving world of professional cinema with unwavering determination. This period in New York was more than a geographical move, it was a symbolic and transformative step into adulthood, self-reliance, and the first tangible pursuit of a dream that would ultimately carry him from small apartments and late-night rehearsals to the glittering lights of Hollywood. It was here that Tom Cruise's resolve was forged. His craft refined, and his ambition crystallized into a vision of stardom that would soon begin to manifest through his early acting roles, initial recognition, and the gradual, relentless ascent toward becoming one of the most iconic and celebrated actors in cinematic history. The journey had begun in earnest, and every challenge, every setback, and every triumph in New York laid the foundation for the remarkable career and enduring legacy that would follow. After months of relentless training, auditions, and navigating the bustling streets of New York City, Tom Cruise began to taste the early fruits of his hard work as he secured his first acting roles, a period that was both exhilarating and humbling, filled with lessons that would shape his professional journey. His first notable appearance came in Endless Love, a small role that offered him a glimpse into the mechanics of film production, the discipline required on set, and the intensity of the professional world of acting. For a young actor, this experience was transformative. It demanded punctuality, focus, adaptability, and the ability to convey emotion authentically under pressure. Often while surrounded by seasoned actors who had already mastered these skills, Tom threw himself into every detail of his performances, from understanding his character's motivations to perfecting subtle facial expressions, gestures, and timing. Each line he delivered, each scene he played, became a building block in a complex architecture of skill, confidence, and presence. He learned firsthand that acting was not simply about talent, it was about preparation, observation, and the emotional investment required to make a performance resonate with audiences. The set itself was a classroom, cameras, lights, director's instructions, co-actors' rhythms, and the constant need to perform repeatedly. All under the scrutinizing gaze of crew and directors, trained him in patience, focus, and resilience. Shortly thereafter, Tom took on the role in Taps, a film that demanded more from him emotionally, exploring the intensity of youth, loyalty, and moral complexity. Here, he began to understand the subtle art of connecting with characters on a psychological level, learning to inhabit their fears, hopes, and inner conflicts with authenticity. Each scene was an opportunity to experiment, to push emotional boundaries, and to internalize lessons about empathy, timing, and presence that would serve him in more significant roles. He quickly realized that success was not linear. Some days brought brilliant takes, while others exposed insecurities or technical shortcomings. Rather than discouraging him, these challenges became fuel for improvement, sharpening his discipline and deepening his dedication to his craft. The early years in film were also a period of balancing professional demands with personal growth. Tom navigated the pressures of public exposure, industry scrutiny, and the uncertainty of a career in which rejection was common and opportunity scarce. Yet, even in these early roles, he exhibited a remarkable ability to focus, to absorb feedback constructively, and to transform criticism into motivation. He observed directors, co-stars, and the mechanics of storytelling, noting not only how to act but how to collaborate, adapt, and contribute meaningfully to a production. Each set, each scene, and each interaction reinforced his understanding that acting was both an art and a craft, a blend of instinct, technique, emotional depth, and professional discipline. During this phase, Tom also began to notice the first glimpses of public recognition. Friends, family, and small audiences responded to his performances, providing external validation that, while not yet global, confirmed the trajectory he was pursuing. More importantly, he experienced the intrinsic joy of performing. The exhilaration of creating characters, and the unique satisfaction of connecting emotionally with viewers. These early successes, though modest, ignited a deeper hunger for more challenging roles, more complex stories, and larger stages. He began to envision himself not merely as a participant in film but as a transformative presence capable of leading narratives, inspiring audiences, and leaving a lasting imprint on cinema. By the end of this phase, Tom had developed the foundational skills, mindset, and professional ethos that would carry him into his breakout roles. He understood that every performance, no matter how small, was an opportunity to refine technique, cultivate presence, and deepen emotional understanding. He had learned the value of resilience in the face of rejection, the importance of preparation in achieving authenticity, and the necessity of persistence in navigating a competitive industry. More than that, he had discovered a profound connection to his craft, a calling that combined personal expression, storytelling, and the transformative power of performance. It was here, in the crucible of early acting roles and first film experiences, that Tom Cruise evolved from a talented, ambitious young man into a serious actor with vision, discipline, and the drive to pursue cinematic greatness. These formative experiences not only honed his craft but also shaped the mindset, courage, and tenacity that would define the extraordinary journey ahead, preparing him to face the challenges, triumphs, and global recognition that lay just over the horizon in Hollywood. As Tom Cruise continued to navigate the early years of his acting career, he began to experience the first tangible signs of breakthrough and recognition, a period that would define his trajectory toward stardom. His dedication, relentless practice, and previous experiences on smaller sets culminated in roles that allowed him to truly shine. One of the pivotal moments came with his performance in Risky Business, a film that not only tested his acting skills but also provided a platform for him to demonstrate charisma, timing, and the ability to carry a story with both intensity and subtlety. The film's success transformed him overnight from a promising young actor into a rising star, opening doors that had previously seemed unreachable. Tom's portrayal captured audiences with a combination of vulnerability, charm, and energy, demonstrating a range that went beyond the expectations of casting directors and critics alike. The exhilaration of this recognition was not just professional but deeply personal. He had proven to himself that the years of struggle, training, and persistence were beginning to bear fruit, and that his dream of reaching the pinnacle of cinematic influence was possible. This period was also one of intense learning and adaptation. Fame brought with it new challenges, media scrutiny, public attention, and industry expectations added layers of pressure that Tom had never experienced before. Each interview, appearance, and interaction was a lesson in poise, communication, and professionalism. Yet, he approached these challenges with the same energy, determination, and curiosity that had fueled his childhood and early career. He analyzed every response, every gesture, and every public impression, understanding that his public persona and on-screen presence were intertwined, and that managing both effectively would be essential to sustaining his career. Meanwhile, on set, Tom continued to refine his craft, experimenting with emotion, physicality, and timing, always seeking authenticity and depth in every character. Directors and co-stars began to recognize not only his natural talent but also his extraordinary work ethic, focus, and willingness to take creative risks. These qualities distinguished him from other actors and set the foundation for a career that would continually evolve, adapt, and grow over decades. As his breakthrough roles accumulated, Tom also began to explore the power of audience connection. He noticed how subtle expressions, pauses, and gestures could evoke profound emotional responses, and he deliberately honed this skill to engage viewers on a deeper level. The experience of moving audiences, of being both seen and felt, became an intoxicating source of motivation, reinforcing his commitment to excellence and his desire to continually challenge himself. He began to select roles more thoughtfully, seeking characters and narratives that would allow him to expand his range, tackle complex emotions, and explore the human condition in ways that were meaningful and impactful. This period of rising fame was therefore not just about recognition but about evolution, transforming from a talented young actor into a deliberate, thoughtful, and ambitious artist who understood the responsibility and opportunity inherent in the craft of acting. Simultaneously, Tom navigated the personal dimension of fame. Relationships, friendships, and daily life were inevitably influenced by the increasing public attention, yet he remained grounded through discipline, focus, and a commitment to personal growth. He learned to balance the exhilaration of success with the necessity of continuous self-improvement, understanding that early fame could be fleeting without the hard work, preparation, and resilience to sustain it. Each day, whether on set, in rehearsal, or facing the glare of the media, became an exercise in mastering both craft and character, a way to reinforce the foundations of long-term success. By the end of this phase, Tom Cruise had firmly established himself as a rising force in Hollywood. His breakthrough roles not only showcased his talent but also revealed a unique combination of charisma, emotional depth, and unwavering commitment that would define his career for decades. The lessons of early struggle, dyslexia, family instability, and relentless self-discipline had culminated in a young man who was ready to navigate the pressures of global fame, tackle challenging roles, and inspire audiences worldwide. This period marked the transformation from promising actor to rising star, a moment where potential met opportunity, and the journey toward becoming one of the most iconic figures in cinematic history accelerated with momentum, focus, and unyielding ambition. Following his initial breakthroughs, Tom Cruise entered a transformative period in his career, a time when ambition, talent, and relentless work ethic converged to propel him into the realm of global recognition. His performances in major films like Top Gun became iconic, not just for the intensity and authenticity he brought to each role, but for his ability to captivate audiences worldwide with a rare blend of charisma, vulnerability, and fearless energy. Top Gun, in particular, was a turning point. It combined the adrenaline of high-stakes action, the complexity of human emotion, and the allure of cinematic spectacle, offering Tom a platform to showcase his full range as an actor. The film's success catapulted him into international fame almost overnight, and he quickly became a household name, admired not only for his skill but also for his dedication, discipline, and the electrifying presence he brought to the screen. This period was not merely about recognition, it was about understanding the magnitude of influence he now held and learning to navigate the responsibilities, expectations, and scrutiny that came with such visibility. During this era, Tom's work ethic became legendary. He immersed himself fully in each role, often performing his own stunts, enduring grueling physical preparation, and dedicating countless hours to understanding character psychology and emotional nuance. Whether portraying a pilot, a spy, or a complex dramatic figure, he sought authenticity and depth, striving to ensure that every performance resonated with audiences on both an emotional and visceral level. Directors, co-stars, and critics alike noted his unparalleled focus and commitment, recognizing that Tom brought an intensity to every scene that elevated both the material and the performances around him. The physicality of his roles, combined with his emotional range, distinguished him from contemporaries. Establishing a standard of dedication that became synonymous with his name, global recognition brought with it both opportunities and challenges. The sudden fame required careful navigation of public perception, media scrutiny, and the pressures of celebrity. Interviews, appearances, and promotional events became integral parts of his professional life, and Tom approached them with the same seriousness, preparation, and strategic focus that he applied to acting. He learned to balance personal privacy with public persona, understanding that his image was not merely a reflection of talent but a tool for influence, inspiration, and career longevity. Even in the face of intense media attention, he remained committed to his craft, allowing performance and dedication to define him rather than the noise of celebrity culture. Beyond the fame, this period was marked by significant personal and professional growth. Tom began to understand the intricate relationship between preparation, execution, and audience impact. Every line delivered, every stunt performed, and every emotional beat was analyzed and refined, reflecting a meticulous attention to detail that would become a hallmark of his career. The lessons learned from early struggles, dyslexia, childhood instability, and initial career challenges manifested as resilience, focus, and courage, allowing him to embrace high-pressure projects without hesitation. He recognized that true success required more than talent; it demanded discipline, adaptability, and a willingness to push physical and emotional limits, a philosophy that would underpin his approach to every major film thereafter. By the end of this era, Tom Cruise had firmly established himself as not just a Hollywood star but a global icon, admired for both his talent and his extraordinary commitment to craft. His work in blockbuster films brought him widespread acclaim, while the skills, resilience, and mindset developed over decades allowed him to navigate fame, opportunity, and public expectation with remarkable poise. The combination of professional mastery, emotional intelligence, and relentless ambition positioned him to take on increasingly complex roles, expand his influence, and secure a legacy that would endure for generations. In this pivotal chapter of his career, we witness the transformation of a determined young actor from Syracuse into an international phenomenon, whose performances, discipline, and fearless pursuit of excellence continue to inspire audiences worldwide and set the stage for even greater achievements in Hollywood and beyond. As Tom Cruise solidified his position as a global star, his career evolved beyond mere fame and box office success into a period defined by mastery of craft, artistic refinement, and professional recognition. Having experienced the highs of blockbuster films and the thrill of audience admiration, Tom began to focus intently on deepening his understanding of acting as an art form. Every role he accepted was meticulously analyzed and approached with discipline, creativity, and a commitment to authenticity. He studied character psychology, motivations, and emotional arcs, often spending hours off-set researching backgrounds, histories, and subtle behavioral traits to ensure that every gesture, expression, and line delivery resonated with truth. This dedication distinguished him from many of his contemporaries, positioning him as an actor whose performances combined technical precision with raw emotional impact, allowing him to captivate audiences across genres, from action to drama to romance. Recognition soon followed. Critics began to acknowledge not only his magnetic presence but also his skill, discipline, and versatility. Nominations and awards became a reflection of both his popularity and the rigor with which he approached his craft. Each accolade, whether a formal award or critical praise, served as external validation of years of persistence, training, and professional focus. Yet, Tom never allowed recognition alone to define him. For him, the true reward was in the process, the immersive experience of embodying a character, connecting with audiences, and continually pushing the boundaries of what he could achieve on screen. The pursuit of mastery became a personal mission, blending self-improvement with artistic contribution, as he sought to leave a lasting impact on cinema rather than simply accumulate fame or financial success. This period also marked the refinement of his professional ethos. Tom became renowned for his unparalleled work ethic, performing complex stunts, enduring intense physical preparation, and immersing himself psychologically in roles that demanded complete transformation. Directors and co-stars often remarked on his ability to maintain focus, energy, and commitment through long, grueling shoots, recognizing that his dedication elevated every production he participated in. He approached action sequences with both technical precision and emotional authenticity, understanding that audiences would connect not just with spectacle, but with the depth and realism behind each performance. Tom's willingness to push physical and emotional limits created a standard of excellence that became synonymous with his name. Influencing both collaborators and aspiring actors who observed his craft, simultaneously, he began to navigate the complexities of fame with wisdom and intention. Global recognition brought opportunities beyond acting, invitations to collaborate on major productions, partnerships, and public engagements. Yet he remained focused on honing his craft, understanding that artistic mastery, rather than external validation alone, was the cornerstone of a lasting legacy. He learned to balance the pressures of awards, media scrutiny, and public expectation with the discipline required for sustained creative output, demonstrating resilience, patience, and strategic thinking that further reinforced his reputation as both an actor and a professional. By the end of this phase, Tom Cruise had reached a level of maturity and mastery rarely seen in his peers. His combination of skill, discipline, emotional intelligence, and relentless pursuit of excellence allowed him to deliver performances that were both compelling and enduring. Awards and recognition became markers of his journey, but the true measure of his success lay in the consistent, painstaking effort he invested in each role and the ability to inspire, entertain, and move audiences across the globe. This period solidified him not only as a Hollywood superstar but as a master of his craft, capable of navigating the evolving demands of the industry while maintaining artistic integrity and professional dedication. It was a testament to the transformation of a young boy from Syracuse into an actor of extraordinary talent, discipline, and enduring influence, setting the stage for continued achievement, risk-taking, and iconic contributions to cinema for decades to come. As Tom Cruise's career advanced, he began exploring innovation in his roles, influencing directing styles, and intentionally building a lasting legacy, a phase that showcased not only his talent but also his strategic vision and artistic foresight. By now, Tom was no longer simply an actor performing assigned roles, he had become a creative force capable of shaping character development, narrative dynamics, and cinematic execution. He collaborated closely with directors and writers, providing insights that enhanced storytelling, improved character authenticity, and elevated the overall production quality. Whether suggesting subtle character tweaks, adjusting pacing, or incorporating unique performance nuances, Tom's involvement went beyond traditional acting responsibilities, reflecting a deep understanding of both the art and mechanics of filmmaking. This approach marked him as a trailblazer, demonstrating that an actor's contribution could meaningfully influence a film's creative direction while maintaining artistic integrity. Innovation also became evident in the diversity and risk of roles he chose during this period. He continued to balance blockbuster action franchises like Mission Impossible with complex dramatic roles in films demanding intense emotional vulnerability, intellectual depth, or psychological nuance. Each character selection was deliberate, aimed at expanding his creative range while testing the limits of performance and audience engagement. Tom's meticulous preparation, researching, training, and internalizing the psychology and physicality of each character, allowed him to inhabit these roles authentically, creating performances that were both compelling and unforgettable. His willingness to undertake dangerous stunts personally became a hallmark of authenticity, earning global admiration and elevating action cinema to new heights. By innovating within his craft, he consistently set benchmarks for professionalism, risk-taking, and artistic excellence, influencing how actors approached performance, preparation, and audience connection. Beyond his on-screen influence, Tom also began to shape industry practices through mentorship and collaboration. He cultivated strong working relationships with directors, cinematographers, stunt coordinators, and fellow actors, fostering environments of trust, creativity, and discipline. By modeling unwavering commitment, focus, and adaptability, he inspired colleagues to elevate their own work, creating a ripple effect that enhanced the quality and impact of every production he touched. His insight into audience psychology, performance authenticity, and cinematic tension allowed him to act as an informal consultant on several projects, blending artistry with leadership. In doing so, Tom not only elevated his own performances but also contributed to the evolution of filmmaking standards, leaving a mark on Hollywood that transcended individual roles or box office statistics. This phase was also deeply reflective, as Tom began consciously building a legacy that would endure beyond his active career. He understood that iconic status required more than awards or blockbuster hits, it demanded consistency, professionalism, creative risk-taking, and a dedication to craft that inspired both audiences and industry peers. He approached each project with long-term vision, choosing films, collaborations, and performances that would cement his place in cinematic history. Behind the scenes, he balanced fame with personal growth, ensuring that achievements were aligned with values, artistic fulfillment, and meaningful contribution rather than fleeting popularity. By the end of this period, Tom Cruise had evolved into a multidimensional force in Hollywood, an actor of extraordinary skill, a creative influencer, and a visionary shaping both performance and production standards. His innovative approaches to roles, strategic collaborations, and dedication to excellence established a framework for a legacy that would inspire generations of actors, filmmakers, and audiences alike. This phase demonstrated that mastery in cinema is not just about individual talent but also about vision, leadership, and the ability to push boundaries, leaving an indelible mark on both art and culture. Tom's journey from a determined child in Syracuse to a global icon was now intertwined with his ongoing mission to innovate, influence, and create a lasting, legendary presence in the world of film. By this stage of his illustrious career, Tom Cruise had not only achieved unparalleled cinematic success but had also become a figure of global influence, his actions, choices, and persona resonating far beyond the screen. Recognizing the platform his fame afforded, Tom began to engage in efforts that extended into philanthropy, social advocacy, and cultural contributions, understanding that true impact encompassed more than personal success. It involved giving back, inspiring others, and shaping society in positive ways. His visibility as a Hollywood icon allowed him to bring attention to causes, support charitable initiatives, and influence public perception on matters of human resilience, determination, and creativity. This phase revealed a different facet of Tom Cruise, a man who used his voice, resources, and platform not solely for self-promotion but to make tangible contributions to communities, the film industry, and audiences worldwide. Philanthropy became intertwined with his professional persona. Tom supported organizations dedicated to children's welfare, education, disaster relief, and medical research, recognizing that leveraging fame responsibly could create meaningful change. He also took part in initiatives promoting arts and culture, advocating for the transformative power of cinema and storytelling to educate, inspire, and connect diverse audiences across the globe. By investing time, resources, and energy in these endeavors, he extended his influence beyond entertainment, showing that a global superstar could be both a cultural icon and a compassionate, socially conscious individual. Each public appearance, charity event, and contribution reflected a balance between personal passion, societal responsibility, and an understanding of the lasting impression he could leave on the world. Culturally, Tom Cruise's films and public persona became symbols of ambition, courage, and dedication. His performances inspired aspiring actors, filmmakers, and creative professionals to pursue excellence relentlessly, demonstrating that hard work, risk-taking, and authenticity could produce extraordinary results. International audiences admired his discipline and authenticity, not only for the on-screen spectacle but for the dedication evident behind the scenes. Tom's ability to navigate fame, maintain professional integrity, and consistently deliver iconic performances turned him into a global benchmark for talent, influence, and professionalism. His cinematic choices, from high-intensity action films to emotionally complex dramas, became part of cultural discourse, reflecting societal themes such as heroism, perseverance, and human resilience. In addition, Tom's influence extended to shaping industry standards and inspiring innovation. His approach to stunts, production involvement, and role preparation set benchmarks for commitment, authenticity, and excellence that have been emulated across generations of actors and filmmakers. By consistently pushing the boundaries of performance, safety, and audience engagement, he not only elevated his own career but also contributed to the evolution of filmmaking, ensuring that his legacy would persist not just through the characters he portrayed but through the standards he established for future creative endeavors. By the end of this phase, Tom Cruise had become more than an actor or a celebrity. He had emerged as a cultural icon and global influencer, whose impact resonated through cinema, philanthropy, and societal inspiration. His legacy was now intertwined with notions of excellence, dedication, creativity, and compassionate influence. Through his work, public engagement, and social contributions, Tom demonstrated that the power of influence was amplified when combined with integrity, vision, and a commitment to making a positive difference. This phase of his journey highlighted a complete evolution, from a determined young actor navigating early challenges to a global figure whose artistry, influence, and dedication continue to shape both culture and the cinematic world at large. As Tom Cruise's career evolved, one of the defining elements of his continued success became his extraordinary commitment to performing stunts personally, elevating both the action genre and audience expectations for authenticity in cinema. Unlike many actors who rely heavily on stunt doubles, Tom took the bold approach of immersing himself fully in the physical demands of each role, a choice that required relentless training, precision, and courage. His dedication to physical mastery went far beyond simple preparation. It involved months of intense conditioning, specialized training in martial arts, skydiving, high-altitude climbing, and rigorous rehearsals for complex sequences. Each stunt demanded not only peak physical fitness but also mental focus, strategic planning, and the ability to remain calm under extreme pressure. By performing these feats himself, Tom brought an unparalleled sense of realism to his films, captivating audiences and setting new industry standards for action cinema. This phase of his career was marked by both physical innovation and artistic risk-taking. Every action scene was meticulously choreographed, blending spectacle with emotional intensity to ensure that viewers were not only thrilled by the danger on screen but also emotionally connected to the characters. Tom's approach transformed action sequences into narrative tools, where physical performance conveyed character, tension, and stakes, enhancing storytelling rather than serving merely as entertainment. His presence in these stunts communicated authenticity, courage, and dedication, reinforcing his identity as an actor willing to push boundaries and redefine the limits of cinematic performance. Directors, producers, and audiences alike recognized the rare combination of skill, bravery, and professionalism that allowed him to execute feats previously considered too risky or impossible. Alongside stunt mastery, Tom's physical preparation reflected his discipline, resilience, and precision. Each role required a customized regimen, including cardiovascular conditioning, strength training, flexibility, and endurance exercises, all tailored to the specific demands of his character and the planned stunts. He also underwent psychological preparation, visualizing sequences, analyzing potential risks, and maintaining focus during dangerous performances. This dedication cultivated not only physical excellence but also mental fortitude, enabling him to perform in challenging conditions such as extreme heights, high-speed vehicles, or combat simulations with confidence and control. By mastering both body and mind, Tom created performances that were seamless, breathtaking, and emotionally engaging. The impact of this commitment extended beyond individual films. Tom Cruise's insistence on performing his own stunts reshaped audience expectations and influenced the broader action genre. Filmmakers and actors were inspired to reconsider authenticity in physical performance, and action sequences became benchmarks of creativity, preparation, and intensity. Tom's work demonstrated that true cinematic immersion requires more than visual spectacle. It requires dedication, innovation, and a willingness to confront fear and physical limits in service of storytelling. His contributions in this area became part of his enduring legacy, blending artistry, athleticism, and courage to create a standard that would influence generations of actors and filmmakers. By the end of this phase, Tom Cruise had solidified his reputation not only as a versatile actor but also as a master of physical performance, someone who redefined the intersection of realism, artistry, and action in cinema. His innovative stunts, rigorous preparation, and relentless pursuit of excellence elevated both his films and his personal legacy, proving that combining courage, skill, and creativity could produce cinematic experiences that were thrilling, authentic, and unforgettable. This chapter in his journey illustrated that mastery, whether in craft, physicality, or creativity, requires dedication, risk-taking, and an unwavering commitment to pushing the boundaries of what is possible on screen, reinforcing his status as one of the most iconic and influential figures in film history. As we reach the conclusion of this extensive journey through the life and career of Tom Cruise, it becomes evident that his story is far more than a series of films or box office milestones. It is a testament to relentless ambition, unwavering discipline, and the transformative power of passion and resilience. From his early days navigating the challenges of dyslexia and constant change, through the trials and triumphs of adolescence, to his ascent as a global cinematic icon, Tom's path exemplifies the extraordinary results that arise when talent meets determination and vision. Each chapter of his life, each challenge he embraced, and each risk he took contributed to shaping not only an actor but a symbol of what human dedication can achieve. This outro serves as a reflective pause, allowing audiences to absorb the profound lessons embedded in a life committed to excellence, innovation, and continuous growth. Tom Cruise's journey is defined by fearless commitment to craft and authenticity, particularly in a career that demanded physical courage, emotional depth, and creative versatility. His relentless pursuit of perfection, from performing his own high-risk stunts to immersing himself completely in every role, demonstrates that true mastery requires more than talent. It demands discipline, preparation, and the courage to continually challenge oneself. Over decades, Tom transformed the very nature of action cinema, drama, and storytelling, leaving an indelible mark not only on audiences but also on industry standards, influencing directors, actors, and filmmakers around the world. His ability to balance artistry with professionalism, risk with safety, and ambition with humility serves as a blueprint for anyone seeking enduring success. Equally significant is Tom's role as a mentor, cultural icon, and global influencer, extending his impact beyond the screen. He has inspired countless aspiring actors, guided emerging filmmakers, and cultivated a culture of excellence, demonstrating that legacy is built not only on personal achievement but also on the ability to uplift others and set a standard of integrity, discipline, and innovation. Through his philanthropic efforts, advocacy for cinematic artistry, and unwavering dedication to quality, he has shown that fame carries responsibility, and that influence, when wielded thoughtfully, can create lasting, positive change. This dual focus on personal mastery and cultural contribution cements his status as an enduring legend whose impact transcends generations. As we reflect on his legacy, it is clear that Tom Cruise embodies the timeless principles of perseverance, adaptability, and relentless pursuit of growth. His life illustrates that challenges, whether personal, professional, or physical, are not obstacles to avoid but opportunities to overcome, innovate, and transform oneself. Each role he has chosen, each stunt he has performed, and each film he has produced contributes to a broader narrative of courage, dedication, and visionary creativity. His story reminds us that greatness is not a momentary achievement but a lifelong commitment to excellence, continuous learning, and meaningful influence. In conclusion, the life and career of Tom Cruise stand as a testament to human potential, artistic dedication, and enduring inspiration. From a young boy with big dreams to a global superstar shaping cinema and culture, he exemplifies how focus, resilience, and passion can create a legacy that resonates far beyond one lifetime. His journey teaches us that true success encompasses not just fame or accolades but the ability to leave a lasting imprint on people, industry, and society, inspiring others to dream bigger, work harder, and approach life with courage and integrity. As we close this 20-part series, audiences are invited to carry forward the lessons embedded in Tom Cruise's story, a story of relentless ambition, artistic brilliance, and timeless impact, a story that will continue to inspire generations to come.